What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video. And today we have yet another awesome collaboration. That's right. As long as you can read, you can see that we have Brett Coleman coming on the show for a 2024 NFL mock draft. Brett, feel free to introduce yourself to the peeps.
All right. Well, I'm happy to be here. I haven't really done many mock drafts at all during draft season. This is actually, I think, the first actual full first round mock I've even been involved in. So,
shit.
I've kind of dabbled in kind of figuring out the top 10, but I don't think I've even talked about the 20s at all. So this should be fun.
Well, I'll be damned. You could have said that before we started. We're excited now. All right, cool. So Brett's going to be taking the odds. I'm going to be taking the evens. Before this, we discussed the quick little trade compensation for a move up with the Vikings, just because it's essentially a known variable. We just kind of discussed that Arizona was going to be one of those likely trade targets. We ended up trading 11-23 and then did a little bit of a quick little move back, so to speak, with trading 108 from the Vikings and getting 136 back. Not like it's going to affect the mock draft apart from those first two picks, but I'll let you kick this off with the number one overall pick.
I mean, I'm not gonna shock anybody here. It's gonna be Caleb.
It is April Fool.
Yeah, that would be the only day that I might not take Caleb. But just for realism's sake, we're gonna do Caleb Williams because there's literally no reason not to. Right. I'm not entertaining, Jaden Daniels at 1 or May at 1, and I like both those guys a lot. But when I'm looking at complete quarterback prospects that do basically everything well, he's the only one in this class. There are some things that we can nitpick about Jaden Daniels. There's some things that we can nitpick about Drake May. It's almost impossible to nitpick Caleb Williams to me. He is either the first or second best player in this class, which not a whole lot of classes have the best player or arguably the best player being a quarterback. So when you have a quarterback who might immediately step into the league, not just as a top 15 player at his position, but maybe a top 12 or top 10 player at his position, I truly think he's that good. I don't really think there should be a debate, personally.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm on board with you. But, it's interesting. The video we did last summer, we actually highlighted the top quarterback prospects, and it was essentially like we were talking about Caleb and Drake. Obviously, that conversation completely dwindled into how to scout players, which was awesome. But, it's cool seeing it come full circle. At pick number 2, this is something I want to talk with you about. So there's rumors that Drake May might even be QB4 for a lot of teams in this draft. I'm curious because you have a little bit better of an ear than I do. What do you think is the most probable, and which one would you go with if you were sitting at pick number 2?
For franchises that need a guy right now, I could see them wanting Jaden Daniels because I think he's a little bit more ready to go right now, just because he's more experienced, he's played more games, the mechanics are tighter, the footwork is better, he's more consistently accurate. For teams that can afford to wait, I don't think May would be lower than Daniels on any of their boards specifically. So you talk about teams like Minnesota, where they feel comfortable with throwing Darnold out there, right? And being able to wait a little while. I think Drake May for them would be higher on their board than, say, Jaden Daniels, who's really more for a team like, say, Washington, where it's like, we got nobody else. We have to take a guy that's going to play right now. I feel like they might prefer somebody like Jaden. Not that Jaden is either a perfect prospect or even anywhere close to Caleb. Like I don't have him on that tier.
Right.
Like there are some things that we can nitpick. I do think he gets a little bit gun shy over the middle. I do think that he put on some weight before his pro day, but I'm not sure how much of that weight is real. If we're just looking at what he played at,
right,
I think he needs 10 more pounds of functional weight because that dude is going to take some hits willingly in the league, and he's got to get some more body armor. I do feel like there was a little bit, in that LSU system, a little bit of an over-reliance on, slot fades and hitches and that kind of stuff.
A little bit.
Again, we're nitpicking here, right? Overall, I still think he is a more ready to play quarterback, even with those little picks
Okay.
than Drake May. If I need a guy that is going to lead me for the next 10 years that doesn't need to play right now, it's Drake. But if I need a guy where, hey, it's September, it's week 1, we're playing against Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
We need to put up 20 points. Like it's going to be Jaden Daniels.
Okay, so do you assume that the job security in Washington would feel more uncomfortable with the longer term project? Or would you say that because of the fact that they're not, it's not Ben Johnson, that there might be a little bit more of an essence or a little bit more of an incentive to be ready closer to day one?
I also think the Cliff Kingsbury thing is a factor as well.
Right.
And with the type of offense that Cliff likes to run historically, not super motion heavy, fairly static, doing some creative stuff in the run game to force defenses into middle field close structures, and then we bomb it down the sidelines like he used to do with Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins. Like, I kind of feel like Jaden Daniels is actually well suited for that style of offense.
Right.
So I wouldn't even frame it as like a job security thing. I think it's a stylistic fit plus just needing a guy who we know we can throw out there week 1.
Right.
And he's going to be okay.
I respect it. This is why I bring you on. Jaden Daniels will be the pick. I haven't done that in a hot second, so I like it. The logic's sound. And it changes things up a little bit. You're at pick number 3, my friend.
See, here I got to go Drake May because they got Jacoby Brissett, and they feel comfortable if they draft a guy, leaving him on the bench. Right. Long term, in this kind of situation where Drake May doesn't have to play and he gets a chance to kind of season a little bit, do the Jordan Love route, more of a truncated Jordan Love route, I think he could and perhaps will be better than Jaden Daniels long term. But he's got to go to a situation like that where he doesn't need to be on the field. I also would consider Marvin here, but I also don't think the Patriots are going to be bad enough to get a quarterback like Drake May in the near future. So it's kind of now or never.
That's perfectly fair. I mean, it's very difficult to be poor enough, especially with all the talent that they still have. I mean, Gonzalez is going to be coming off of his injury, his ACL tear. So your team is naturally going to be significantly better, going to be very difficult to be in the top 3. Now, I'll select Drake May for you, but obviously JT O'Sullivan, the QB school, widely respected by a ton of people, including myself. Obviously, JT is like creme de la creme in terms of quarterback analysis. He said that he actually might even consider going after JJ McCarthy over Drake May. Now, I see the it factor with both Drake and JJ. I think both have their relative inefficiencies and areas of improvement, but I'm curious because of someone who is so respected as JT to see almost no gap, if not JJ McCarthy inching out ahead of Drake. What do you feel about, the gap between the two? Because again, both are those high upside guys who probably aren't ready day one.
There's an interesting trend of guys who played quarterback in the league at all levels, right? All levels of success, whether it's Kurt Warner or Sims or JT, whether Hall of Famer or backup, guys that played in the NFL don't seem to like Drake May very much. And it all comes back to one common thread of just, I don't want to say random misses, but seemingly random misses, inexcusable misses, right? On easy balls. And yes, it's tied to footwork and everything like that. Like, they know why. They know why he missed. They're not questioning that. They know it's fixable. But former quarterbacks in the league know that you can't just miss easy balls. Like, you don't get an opportunity to miss easy balls because one miss in a game, it can be the difference between winning and losing. Like, you have to stay on schedule. You cannot ruin a perfectly good drive by, having a play that should have been a 2nd and 7 be a 2nd and 10. All of a sudden, we put ourselves in position to be in a 3rd and long. We get booted off the field. Next thing you know, they go down and score. We're in a 14-point hole instead of being a tie. Like, things can snowball really quickly in the NFL. And those snowballs can happen just from missing a really easy ball. You can't miss layups, right?
Right.
That's what former NFL quarterbacks really believe in, is you cannot miss layups. We will accept you missing a low percentage ball down the sideline. We will accept you overshooting, a really tight window if you're trying to beat cover 2 and you're trying to really hammer that thing into the sideline in the little pocket in between the corner and the safety. We can accept missing the hard ones. They hate when quarterbacks miss the easy ones because they feel like if nothing else, you should be able to do that, right? You should be able to stay on time. So guys that didn't play quarterback in the league, we all have this, but we can fix him mentality. Guys that did play quarterback in the league say, I know half the coaches in the NFL are going to fucking hate that, and they're going to bench him. So no.
Okay.
I think that's where the difference is in, right?
You know what? I respect that completely. I am by no means a quarterback expert. By the way, this is going to be JJ McCarthy. Let's just get that out of the way for the Vikings. But I am no quarterback guru. I'm still learning to scout quarterbacks at an efficient level. I mean, obviously, I trust my eye to a degree, but there's still a lot of learning that I have to do. One of the things I didn't like was the fact that Drake May, my one negative on him is inconsistency, where there's a famous route by Josh Downs where I think it might have been a zig on the goal line, and he had to reach pretty much down to his feet to catch it. And there were throws like that where it's like, damn, you're seeing Drake May put something 25, 35, 45 yards down the field on a rope on the money, and then he misses or damn near misses a pass like that. It does certainly worry me. That is something that JT brought up as well. Again, I'm no quarterback expert, but I can understand both sides of the argument, and it makes it for a really cool conversation. So I appreciate that. But you are now with a pretty easy decision here at pick 5. In my
2 weeks ago, before the Keenan Allen trade, I would have said Joe Alt. Now the Chargers are staring down the barrel of a wide receiving core of Quentin Johnson and Josh Palmer. Yeah. I like Palmer a lot. I even think that QJ still has really good potential. If not as like a high-end number 2, complementary weapon, yak weapon, like that's what he should have been, right? Was like the yak guy. That's what he was at TCU. It's what he should have been last year. I think they tried to make him into something he's not. But even if he is like a high-quality number 2 and like a really dynamic yak weapon, he's not Deebo Samuel. What I'm saying, like akin to Deebo in San Francisco, where like Ayuk is the number 1, Deebo's the number 2 / yak guy. Yeah. With Palmer being the number 3, Mr. Third Down, all that kind of stuff. You still need a 1. They don't have a 1. Keenan was the 1. They don't have him anymore. So I have now altered my stance of wide receiver not being in the mix for the Chargers to wide receiver absolutely being in the mix, especially if it's Marvin Harrison Jr. So we're going to go with Marvin.
Maserati Marv. I love it. I mean, you get your true number 1 wide receiver. Do you classify him as generational? Or let me just ask you before asking that question, what is your definition if you ever use the term generational? And if it is not as actually definitional as the word generational means, is Maserati Marv generational?
I would say if he's not generational at his position, then nobody is. Right? I think he is the most dynamic receiver, at least in terms of guys that I've watched and evaluated coming out. And I started doing this around 2010, 2011. He's the best I've seen come out since when AJ Green and Julio were coming out in their year. And there was like the debate of like, who's better? No, they're both Hall of Famers. Who cares? Right. Yeah. So I think he's the best one since that duo of Hall of Fame talents came out. And I had a monster grade on Jamar. I still think Jamar is one of the best receivers of the last 15 years. But if we were stacking up Jamar versus Marvin, I would take Marvin. And that's no shade at Jamar. He's an all-pro. He's incredible.
Yeah.
Marvin is like he's absolutely unreal. And I can't even find a weakness. That's how you define generational. To the point where even like you're trying to nitpick him so much and you're coming up with, I mean, he might be 4.42 instead of 4.35. Like, what are we doing? Right. Like,
right.
That's all I can really find.
Yeah. So that's why I was asking you before this, if you actually thought quarterback could be 1 through 4. And obviously you brought up for the Patriots how it would certainly be a factor. But obviously you take the biggest wins above replacement position when you actually have the talent to be able to select there. But I mean, if Maserati Marv is really that special and wide receivers are going for a pretty penny nowadays, man, I mean, it could shake things up with seeing him in the top 3 for sure, and might make the Vikings decision maybe be a little bit easier between two really good quarterbacks rather than having to go after, just whatever's left over. Now for 6, we were discussing before the potential chance of a trade up. Since you have Arizona, you're talking about potentially moving up for Joe Alt. Do you still want to partake?
What would it cost? That's what I want to know.
See, I'm willing to sell. Now you can sell me all you like, but we'll take a quick peek at Arizona's draft capital at the moment. Looking at it, from moving 6 to 11, if you want to go off of a trade chart, I mean, thinking about it, this is probably going to roughly be in the 1,400 range, if not mistaken, and 11's around 1,250. So, I mean, at the end of the day, these point value systems are absolute butt cheeks. But, I mean, theoretically, what would be a realistic trade package in your eyes for this? Like, obviously, it would include 11, maybe it would be 27.
It's tough because I have to factor in that the Giants are basically giving up Rome Odunze to do this, right? So it'll
cost.
I think it might take 35 to go up, but I kind of feel like the Cardinals have to because they need a left tackle, and I'm not sure the top 2 left tackles are going to make it to 11.
Correct. So do you think that 27 would be in play if they want to play hardball?
I wouldn't give up 27, but I would give up 35 because I want to preserve as many picks as I can that have 50-year options attached to them.
That's true. Yeah, Arizona's a little bit farther away. You know what? Let's try it out. I haven't done a trade like this in a hot second. I mean, to be fair, I literally did it in my last collab mock draft, but we're going to forget that I ever said that. The New York Giants, they're going to be moving back here because honestly, I have a really cool idea for the Giants that I have never executed. So I think that would be a cool opportunity to do so. I'm going to let you take this one and the next because obviously these are your picks too.
So we're going to go Joe Alt here for the Cardinals, franchise left tackle. I know they signed Jonah Williams. I don't care. I really don't care. I'm totally fine with taking Joe Alt and just saying like, Jonah, you're our swing tackle. Cool. Or if they really want to put Jonah at right tackle and put Paris at guard, the fact that Paris can play either one helps to just get the best 5 on the field. Ultimately, I still think Paris will play right tackle for them, but the fact that they have that kind of versatility means that they can figure it out over summer, basically. But in order to get the best 5 on the field, you should probably get the best 5 players you can. So we're going to take Joe Alt there, which completely screws the Titans, by the way.
Yep. I'm excited to see what you do for this.
Murders them. But they still need one. They still need one real bad. So I still like Olu-Fashanu quite a bit.
I do too.
And if nothing else, he's still better than Nick Petit-Frere. So we're going to go with Olu-Fashanu at 7 for the Titans. I think there's going to be a huge run on tackles in the first round. I don't think they can afford to wait. Even if he comes in graded under Alt for them, which he probably will, it's still not by that much. Like Olu is still a very good prospect in his own right. He's still worth the pick. And they just have to. Like, they can't let Will Levis fail because they wanted to get cute and moneyball this thing. Take the tackle while they can.
I respect that. I actually have very similar grades on Alt and Fashanu for completely different reasons. Obviously, Olu Fashanu is just a complete athlete, like a ridiculous athlete on the field. So I think Joe Alt's a good athlete too, but I just have him similarly graded because of the craziness of the athleticism that Olu brings to the table. Pick 8 for the Falcons. Did not expect for the board to fall this way. Granted, it gives me more options than less, I would say. Malik Neighbors is almost impossible to pass on. I know that you're a Rome Odunze guy. So certainly within the realm of possibility, but with the free agency acquisitions, I feel like this team kind of wants to continue building on its speed. Obviously, edge rusher is the most probable position it makes sense. There's essentially a top 3 and then a drop off. Of course, I have my guys in there like Marshawn Kneeland, who I love. But, if I'm going to trust anybody to snipe a solid edge rusher down the board, it actually would be Raheem Morris. I don't know if he needs to go after edge rusher right now. Now, there's one other position that I'm curious to see what you think value-wise these top corners are going to go. Because Quinion Mitchell, I mean, obviously, freak athlete, come from a smaller school, but showed at the Senior Bowl that he can actually learn how to be out of his own normal scheme. And then Terrion Arnold, who I have comped to a smaller version of Joey Porter Jr., 5-star safety, who is the definition of versatility.
Terrion Arnold, I think, it's interesting. I could see him being a nickel at the next level. But just like Cooper DeJean, I think Cooper DeJean actually will be a stellar nickel at the next level.
Yeah.
But they could also play outside. So really it might come down to just what the team that drafts them needs them to be. If they already have a nickel in-house, or if they already have outside guys in-house, I see them as just being two talents that can fill in where needed.
Yeah.
And shit, they could both play safety really well too. So they're just kind of do everything DBs where you draft them and you figure it out later. Very much like Devin McCourty types, because Devin played everywhere. I think both of them, the different body types, different builds, but same kind of role, right? Just draft them and figure it out.
Okay. You know what? Let's throw a curveball in here. I think the NFL always surprises us by taking one corner a little bit higher than what we expect. And I actually am a Terrion Arnold guy. I am. And I think that the versatility might work a little bit more towards Atlanta's favor than Quinion Mitchell's. I got a little bit of a face reaction there, as in like, oh, what the hell are you doing?
Well, it's something that I haven't seen. It's not even a what the hell are you doing? It's more something I haven't seen before, which is refreshing, right? Because normally it's either receiver or Dallas Turner.
Right.
But when you look at the secondary, like they got Clark Phillips, they got AJ Terrell, two guys that play outside for them. You got Mike Hughes at nickel. I think Terrion could compete for that nickel job day one. Or, he's not going to take Jesse Bates' job, but he could compete for either Hellam's job or with Richie Grant to be their third safety in dime packages. He'll be great on special teams. Like he'll have a job. Right. We don't know where it is, but he'll have a job, right? He'll be on the field early, which if you're taking a DB in the top 10, they better be really good, which he is, and they better have a job lined up, which he does. So it fits, and it's refreshing to see something that's not receiver and edge, because it feels like those are the only spots we talk about for Atlanta.
Right. I always just thought about it because we, last year before they brought on Jeff Okudah, in the top 10, it was always going to be a corner. And then that narrative just died off. And then now we haven't revitalized the narrative, even though, I love Clark Phillips, but I don't know if he's bona fide going to stop me from taking someone who I could see as an upgrade in that corner core.
Yeah, just like if you are arguing for receivers, is Darnell Mooney and Rondale Moore going to stop you from taking Malik Neighbors? No. So it's you could argue for any of them, really.
Right. I wanted to change it up a little bit. I love Malik Neighbors, but at the same time, I want to test out a new theory, see how it changes things up.
And this brings us to Chicago, who I didn't think Rondale was going to, or not Rondale, Rome Odunze was going to be there. I also didn't think Malik was going to be there. They're both there. So it really comes down to, what do we think fits Caleb? Obviously Malik is a dynamic deep threat, also a dynamic yards after catch threat. If you look at what the Bears already have, they got Keenan Allen working the slot. You got DJ Moore outside who can play X or Z. So you're trying to figure out, okay, where would either of these rookies fit in that existing receiving core, and how do they fit Caleb specifically? I think Caleb is such a dynamic vertical thrower down the field. You could argue for Malik here, but it's a big but. If we want to get the most out of Keenan and we want to get the most out of DJ Moore, we got to be able to move them around, which means somebody's going to have to sit static on the line of scrimmage and just box with corners all day long and hold up against press man coverage. I don't think that's Malik Neighbors.
Okay.
I think that's Rome Odunze. So I'm taking Rome, A, to complement Caleb, but B, to give us a true X receiver that will allow us to maximize the other guys on the roster who I think would benefit more from being either off the ball or moved around or in the slot. So you could argue for either one, but I love Rome too much to not take him here.
What's the title? All throws lead to Rome.
Yeah, basically.
I love it, dude. I mean, I remember you said somebody brought that up, and I'm like, that is like an elite tier echelon line. I love it. All right. So for the Jets at 10, I mean, there's arguments for going offensive line because we already know that one or both of the tackles are going to be missing time. But sometimes you just got to add fuel to the fire, man. I mean, you can't pass on the best player available. Also, do you want to say that, Malik's going to New York either way? Do you want to see Malik going into the Giants locker room? No. I'd be much happier seeing an offensive lineman going into another team's locker room that you want than seeing a dynamic playmaker like Malik Neighbors. So let Aaron Rodgers have his fun. Pray to God that the offensive tackles stay safe. Maybe go down to Cuba, get some voodoo dolls, do something, but make sure that you get the best player available. That's Malik Neighbors.
I mean, hard to argue against it, right? If we're just trying to maximize fun in whatever years Aaron Rodgers has left in his career, that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's good TV. So I'll take it. It's good TV.
So I am curious, if you are sitting there and you're the Jets at 10 and you don't have Malik Neighbors, you don't have Rome Odunze, right? Like, let's just assume I did the right decision and took Malik Neighbors at pick 8. Mm-hmm. And you're just sitting there. It's like, okay, well, all the tackles are essentially gone except for, Talia Fuaga and Fautanu. Do you consider Brock Bowers? Like, what would you do in that situation? Because I feel like that's the toughest one to predict at the moment.
I think that's like a pure BPA consideration, right? Mm-hmm. Which Malik is, for a lot of people, probably the BPA.
Yeah.
Like, honestly. So it's kind of hard to argue against it from that standpoint. Like, are you ever going to go broke just taking a profit? Probably not.
I like that line. Are you ever going to go broke taking a profit? That's a good one. I got to keep that. Okay, so this was my idea here at pick number 11. We'll collaborate on this one. The Giants' corner core is complete, cheeks. Apart from
the Giants, there's a lot of things on the Giants that are complete cheeks. Right?
So to me at this point, there's a couple options you can certainly go after. But, I mean, Marcus, he ended up going after Byron Murphy in a trade back. I think it's a little bit early. It's something I love because I actually really love their D-line coach is Mason Smith in the third. By the way, I love the cat. Mason Smith. I know. I'm like, dude, we got a third person on. Like, shoot. I think that, Mason Smith's a great target down the line if you want to boost the defensive interior and take a swing on somebody. I love the idea of potentially getting Brock Bowers because it's BPA. I don't trust Darren Waller to be healthy 100% of the time. And also Darren Waller is not a spring chicken. But I love Quinion Mitchell because that corner 2 spot is cheeks. And you definitely need some help there. What are your thoughts?
The building, folks in the Giants building still think they have something in Trey Hawkins. And I'm not even going to say they don't. Like, I think Trey Hawkins did some good stuff as a rookie last year. He came in, especially early on in camp, but in the season, played really well. I'm not ready to say there's nothing there. I think they could have a starting corner in Trey Hawkins as well as a starting corner in Deonte Banks, who also had pretty nice moments last year.
Love Deonte.
But I'm not ready. I am ready to say that I don't have a whole lot of belief in Cordell Flott as their nickel. So this is another spot where you can start talking about DeJean, who can again play outside or inside. Again, just take him and figure it out. If Terran Arnold was on the board, you could talk about him here. If you think Quinion can play inside, you could talk about Quinion here as well. I wouldn't hate corner there at all. But if you're looking at this edge rusher group, I know they got Brian Burns. I understand they got Brian Burns, but this was an edge rusher group who, with Kayvon Thibodeau and
Aziz.
Aziz
A
Ojulari,
sneeze Ojulari.
they were the worst and second worst ranked edge rushers in pass rush win rate last year. And I'm not just talking about on blitzes. I know Giants fans are like, it's the scheme. It's because we blitz so much. If you're looking at 4-man rushes, they were last as well. Okay, like it's not like they ran 4-man rushes differently than everybody else. You still have to get home, and they couldn't get home. All right, so you can't blame scheme on everything. They weren't good.
Right.
They just weren't good. And I don't think Brian Burns fixes all that by himself. Obviously, Brian Burns is a great player, but I think Dallas Turner is a better prospect than Kayvon was. He's a better prospect than Aziz was. And I understand Kayvon got sacks, but like we're 2 years in, and I'm still wondering if he's a starting caliber edge rusher that can like win consistently and have a high pressure rate, not just getting 11 sacks from cleanups and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think he's on the board as well. Obviously Bauer's on the board. You could look at Troy Fatanu.
Yeah. Afi Fuaga as well, potentially as a guard. Fuaga. Yeah, guard / tackle.
That's kind of why I advocate for the Giants trading back, is because they need a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff they need is still going to be there in the early teens, right?
That's true. So either A, do you have a trade package, or B, if you had to stick and pick, who would you choose?
If I had to stick and pick, because we're not getting a quarterback, we got to figure out how to make Daniel Jones work. And I think Daniel Jones can work if he's protected.
Okay.
He cannot work under pressure at all.
Right.
He just can't. He can't do it. So, like, for me, I'm looking offensive line, and you could take whichever offensive lineman you like.
Yeah.
But, like, I even with the investments they've made in this offseason, I still don't think it's enough.
Okay. Yeah, Jermaine Illuminor is not the savior of New York.
Like, that's not going to cover up for missing on Evan Neal, right? So it's like whether that, and that's the thing, if you take Fatanu, like, he could play 4 different spots. So even if Illuminor is good, you could still have him compete with Stinney or Runyon at guard, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of where I'm thinking, just because if we're not getting one of the top 4 quarterbacks, we have to figure out how to make Daniel Jones work.
Yeah.
And they don't really have any other option.
My recommendation then would be to go after Fuaga, because if he ends up working out, because isn't the Raiders O-line coach? He's there now, right? So
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, like, he's really good at developing. If Fuaga works out at tackle, you've replaced Evan Neal. If he doesn't work out at tackle, I think he could be a Hall of Fame level guard. That's my type of thing.
He could.
You found that?
I'm fine with that.
Let's do it. Okay, Broncos. I mean, this is a tough situation. It's pretty obvious that they should go after a quarterback, because it's Nervous Nelly's time. You're pretty much completely vacant. However, there's still an elite corner on the board. Do you have any trade offers? I am asking desperately, as somebody who does not want to stick and pick a quarterback or go after Quinyon Mitchell here because of BPA.
I'm trying to think. Is there anybody who might really need to come up from deep in the round?
Should we just go Philadelphia Eagles going Brock Bowers? Say screw it. That'd be wild.
Just for fun. Just for fun. I mean, hey, went to Georgia, so it fits, right?
Right. Georgia, or the Philadelphia Bulldogs. I love it.
How much would it cost for...
I might as well pull this up. I actually have the trade chart now, so we can legitimately calculate this.
Actually, how so let's see. The Cardinals have 3 first-round picks, right?
They do. Of course, they gave up 35. We got Dallas Turner still on the board too. That's tough.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, right? Because they converted Zaven Collins to edge, and then you got Aziz's brother BJ.
Yep.
and then you got Dennis Gardick, and then Victor Dimukeje.
Mm.
So it's like they could still stand to add one,
Right. That's true. Oh,
but without 35, it's kind of a messy trade.
yeah. I'm trying to find a way to justify moving Detroit up for Dallas Turner just because I love Detroit getting Dallas, but I cannot see a feasible trade package whatsoever. There's just nothing there.
Can I also suggest? Let me see here.
You can suggest whatever you want, Brett. This is I do my mock drafts every single day. That's also why I'm pandering a lot more to what you like to do, because just like I throw some random crap into a mock draft to scare the crap out of you, I also enjoy the absolute fear and adrenaline of not knowing what the hell is about to happen.
I wonder if this would work. It probably would work.
What team are you suggesting?
Dallas.
Ooh. You want to move up with Dallas, huh?
Thinking
For
about
who?
it.
For who?
Fatanu.
Ooh. Okay.
Because then we can figure out, the Tyler Smith, is he a guard, is he a tackle thing. We can figure that out in training camp at the exact same time as we're figuring out if Troy is a guard or a tackle, and we let them sort it out on the left side, right? Because they can both play either one.
So are you suggesting 24 and 56?
Oh man.
If I look at the chart, it's 740 plus 340. So what is that? 1080 for 1200. Technically, you need to toss something in the future, like future 4.
Damn, that's a big trade. Ooh, I don't know if I can do that now.
That's a big trade for an offensive
trade.
Now, what teams would be interested? What about the Jaguars? Because I think they could use an upgrade at corner. I know that some people don't. Do you believe they need an upgrade at corner?
They do,
because that's a short range trade.
If they would go up though.
So the reason I would suggest going up with Jacksonville is because if somehow, some way, we see Quinion slip a little bit more, I cannot see in good faith that the Colts would pass on him, and you'll have to face his ass 2 times a year.
Yeah, that's true.
For the rest of eternity. And with that bum of a receiving core, I think that he's going to feast. I'm worried. Would you think of that as something that's feasible?
It's also feasible that they go up for Brian Thomas Jr. at that point too, because they lost Alvin.
That's also true.
So who do you like better between Kenyon and BTJ?
I think I'm a Quinion guy. I'm a corners guy, though. I'm a sucker for corners. Like, that's my thing. I'm a real big sucker for corners.
Well, Denver, I think, in their position would give it to him for cheap because they just want to get out, right?
Yeah. What would it be, though? Would it be 1748 for a move back to 76?
I think
96 is a little expensive of a move up for Denver to move back. Or do you think it's going to be a fire sale?
17 plus 96 to get to 12, you mean?
Yeah. Like, maybe they would toss in a future pick if that's the case. I mean, Denver does need more draft capital. I'm sure they're willing to sell off cheap, just like apparently almost $20 million.
Maybe like 17 and 96 to get 12. And see, what would Denver... Are you thinking Denver sends a little bit more back?
No, I'm saying Jacksonville sends a little bit more. Because last year, from 17 to 15, it was pick 120. So I assume...
With 2 spots, it was pick 120?
I know, because the Steelers jumped the Jets. It happens.
Jeez. Okay.
I know. Because that's what I was thinking. Maybe Jacksonville sends the future 4.
Then they'll probably throw in the Saints pick then. They probably have to.
The Saints pick?
The 116.
Oh yeah, I think that's fair too. I think that's a solid price. I think that's something that I'd be willing to pay for Jacksonville to disarm a competitor who I think the Colts would be significantly better off with Quinion Mitchell. So I like to give middle fingers to in-division rivals. We cool?
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. Jacksonville moves up and selects Quinion Mitchell. All right. You're back, my friend. You're back to making selections.
Bring me Bo Nix.
Woo. Okay. I moved back to get Bo Nix. All right. I did not know that you were a fan of Bo Nix. I am a Bo Nix truther.
It's mainly like we got to stay there, or else Denver's just going to take him at 17.
That's fair. Yeah.
Seattle might take him at 16. Or somebody would jump up with Seattle. Like say Pittsburgh or something like that, right? If they don't think they're getting more than a year of Russ,
or a year of Justin,
or a year of Justin Fields. So
that's the interesting thing. They signed Kyle Allen today because obviously I'm a Steelers fan, and I'm thinking like you have 3 quarterbacks on a 1-year contract, like you don't have anything next year. You don't even have legitimate spot unless you want to get rid of Kyle Allen or send somebody to a practice squad, which Kyle Allen would be the first one to do it. Like you just don't have space for a rookie to actually make an impact. It's honestly mind-boggling. But regardless, here at pick 14 with the Saints. Oh, I mean, not the easiest selection, if I'm going to be honest, but I think that, the Trevor Penning project
didn't
not
work out.
Good. Did not work out. Let's just call it that. It didn't work out. The common term is bust or absolute shank. But, Troy could certainly fix that issue. We also have a potential issue on the right side. Ramchick, unreliable in terms of health. Rumors are he might not even play this year. I'm going to take the chance of Troy Fautanu here, just because I've never taken him to the Saints. But a left tackle is certainly always going to be a welcomed addition. At the very minimum, if Trevor Penning works out, you try to take him at right tackle, or Fautanu could be a great guard.
And I think Fautanu is a better prospect than Penning was at tackle anyway. Like I wasn't a Penning guy, so I was really surprised when they did the trade up for him. I was like, of all the tackles, that's the one, right?
I know.
So, I rooted for him. I wanted him to work out, but I just didn't have a big grade on him, and I have a huge grade on Fautanu. So I think he'd start.
Yeah,
I think he'd start over Penning, and if anybody's kicking into guard, I think it's Penning.
Yeah. Of course, I'm being optimistic with Trevor Penning working out at left tackle. But you're here with the Colts. Good choices.
So, man, this is tough because they didn't get L'Jarius Sneed. They do need corner help. They don't get Quinion. They don't get Taron Arnold.
The edge rushers are falling.
I know, that's the thing. Like, I didn't go into this expecting to do edge.
I know.
But, I mean, they're literally all there.
They are all there. Literally all of them.
Yeah, let's go Dallas Turner just because he's the best player on the board at this point, or at least the highest ceiling at that position on the board at this point.
Yeah.
And I'd feel like an asshole if I didn't take him.
Where do you have Dallas on your board, if you have a big board?
I haven't actually slotted all the positions together yet. I do all the position rankings first, and then the week of the draft, I'm like, okay, if I had to put all my tier 1s together, and then but he's going to end up being probably top 10 on my board.
He is number 4 on mine. So just as much of a pain to you to pass on him, it pained me as well. Pick 16 for Seattle. This is obviously a potential spot for if they wanted to trade back, they can absolutely do so. I am not going to. I think Seattle needs to give every fighting chance to Geno or Sam Howell. And my beloved former teammate Colby Parkinson is no longer there. He moved back to LA. Go Rams. Just kidding, because you like the Chargers. But but I think this team values tight end a lot. Will Dissly, I don't think, is even there either. He's in LA, right? He's also on the Chargers.
Yeah.
They lost two of their contributing tight ends to Los Angeles. And Brock Bowers is just, how hard is it to pass on Brock Bowers? I think he is really special. And I think he's a very underrated blocker as well. Even Mina Kimes talking about that. There's probably better positions in terms of impact on the roster. But I just want to take Brock. So I think I go best player available. And right now he's the highest on my board. So I'm going to go Brock Bowers.
If nothing else, it gives them a really solid yak weapon
Mhm.
for a team that has seemingly kind of struggled with that. It
Yeah.
feels like they've been a down the field team,
Yep.
but in terms of being able to throw short of the sticks and still pick up first downs, that's a big reason why they took JSN was like
Mhm.
somebody who could break a tackle in space. And they still kind of underutilized him a lot in that aspect, in my opinion. But
Well,
Brock Bowers
yeah.
can amplify that. So now they have downfield targets with DK and Tyler. They have Mr. Third Down with JSN. They have
Mhm.
guys who can work after the catch, in addition to having two good running backs too. So it just
Right.
kind of balances out the offense.
Right. Also, one of my first misses ever was my draft darling in Dwayne Eskridge. So a little
You
bit
tricked a
painful.
lot of people.
Man.
That's the thing. You never really know how undersized wide receivers are going to work out. Sometimes they're Tank Dell, sometimes they're DS Screech. You don't know.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. All right. Oh, little PTSD right there. You are up with the Denver Broncos. Technically, I technically moved back, but I also made your pick with the Quinion Mitchell thing.
So part of the reason why I took Bo Nix at 13
Because
was
you
so
know.
that Denver didn't get Bo Nix,
Right.
right? Because you can't if you have a first round grade on a quarterback, which I have like a late first round grade on Bo Nix,
Right. Same.
and you need a quarterback, and you pass on that quarterback, knowing full well that he's going to go to your division rival, it doesn't seem like a good winning business model. So
Sure.
if anybody's going to take a chance on him in this division, I would have wanted to be the Raiders because, again, Gardner
Hmm.
Minshew is not stopping me from drafting a guy. But that then completely hoses the Broncos, who are sitting there at 17.
Which we love to do.
Which we love.
They got paid for it. They got paid to get
They
hosed.
got paid for it, but now they got nothing. They got
True.
nothing. I can't. I just can't take Penix this early,
Mm.
personally. So
Hmm.
we have to take something else and try to build as good of a supporting structure as possible, and then hit quarterback on day 2,
Okay.
and then just try to survive. Like that's all. That's part of the reason why I sort of don't expect Denver to trade down, because they can't for
They
that
can't
reason.
afford it. Yeah.
But in this scenario, they did, right?
You're like, in this scenario, you did the wrong thing.
It's more so, it's
You
like I'd
did.
just be surprised if they did, right?
That's fair.
So you look
But
at receiver, they got Cortland Sutton, they got Marvin Mims, Josh Reynolds. Like, I think they're fine at receiver. They're
mm,
fine at running back. Tight end, they still believe in Dulcich, but they got Adam Troutman. Offensive line, for the most part, is fine.
mhm.
Underperformed a little bit last year, but I don't think they're in dire straits there. So when we're talking about building a supporting structure, I'm more thinking, okay, field position, special teams ability, in addition to giving our receiving core something that they don't already have.
Okay.
So Cortland Sutton is, oh man, do I want to do this?
What if I alleviated your stress a little? What
Okay.
if I moved up with the Philadelphia Eagles? Small
For
range.
who?
Jared Verse. Sweat's on a 1 year left
Ooh.
on his contract. Reddick's gone. You have Huff, who has been 42%. So, not necessarily someone who you can trust to be every down starter, even though he got paid to be that. Don't exactly have empirical data on that. BG is going to retire probably after next year. And then you're going to be left with essentially Huff and Nolan. This is a team that seems to load up, and this guy might work very, very well.
Damn, I was about ready to give you a big old diatribe for Cooper DeJean, but I like that better.
Mm.
I like that better. Let's do
See?
that.
All right. All right. So I don't think this obviously does not command 50 or 53. Given that the trade value for 17 to 15 was 120, I think this will be very slightly more. If not, I think this would be a deal, because I think Denver also might get a little bit desperate at this point, because I feel like 17 to 15 is roughly equivalent to 17 to 22. Just if you look at the depreciation of pick value. Do you
Okay.
think that that is a reasonable offer, or would Denver say, screw you, we want 1,000 picks in this draft?
I think it's reasonable.
All right.
Personally.
Reasonable.
Especially because Denver, like, again, the reason why, just full transparency, the reason why I was going to advocate for Cooper DeJean
Yeah.
is because I think Cooper DeJean is going to be an extremely good kick returner with the new kickoff rules, and giving say like let's say they get Penix in the second round.
Yeah.
Giving Penix better on average field position with, say, Cooper DeJean contributing on defense and on special teams was what I was thinking there. But Denver could really,
yeah.
I think you could still get him if you're trading back, right?
That was the good news I was about to deliver you. You're getting pick 120 for free. And as all my friends know, one of my favorite words is free. And the Eagles are free to take Jared Verse in this equation. Leatu Latu might actually be the most effective pass rusher day one, but you're really investing in them. You're replacing a Florida State edge rusher with a Florida State edge rusher. I love Jared Verse. I love Latu as well, but I just rarely ever get to take Verse to the Eagles. So I actually want to take this opportunity to take full advantage of that.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
Okay. 18 Bengals. I still want to be able to go after JC Latham here. I don't really want to overthink this too much. Protect Joe Burrow. I don't want Trent Brown is now on the team. I don't want that dinosaur to be the guy who stops me from protecting Joe Burrow. So we're going to be going JC Latham. Quick story.
Totally fair. Totally fair. Which means I can take Amarius Mims at 19.
Really? Okay. So I'm curious what you think about this. I'm a big Mims guy, or I was a big Mims guy for a hot minute. I've been doing my re-eval. So you're taking Mims at 19 just to...
Yeah.
Screw you, because that was my pick for the Steelers. But
I know it is.
I was like, God damn it. But B, I thought something I saw consistently with Mims's tape was his lack of foot speed. He's very heavy. And I saw him basically take one step in his kick slide for almost every 2 to 3 that the defender did. And I saw him get beat to the inside a little bit more than I was comfortable with. Now, he doesn't have a lot of experience, so I'm sure that as he processes the game, he's going to be a lot more quick twitch and not actually, take as long to react, maybe not get beat as easily. But it is something that concerns me. Is that something that's popped up to you when you looked at Mims, or what's your overall analysis of him?
He is very inexperienced.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was just going through non-play action, non-RPO pass blocking snaps, which I think he had like 140 of those combined the last 2 seasons, right? So not a lot. Right?
Yeah.
Just going through those, like true pass block snaps. There were a couple times where he would overset, right? Yeah. But on the whole, he was just almost impossible to beat, because even if you are countering inside on him, if he's oversetting, he's so long and strong, and his post step inside is so good that you're probably not going to win anyway. He's one of those guys where it's like, I understand he's not all the way there yet, but if he goes to an offensive line coach that does get him all the way there, he's Lane Johnson. So I'm willing to take that risk.
The ceiling is there. Okay, so is it safe to say you have Amarius above JC then, given the ceiling? Like, it's situational.
Given the ceiling, I would say yeah.
Okay. If you were the Bengals, would you feel more comfortable taking the ceiling, or are you just tired of, not getting a floor guy and just protecting Joe at some level?
I think JC makes sense for the Bengals specifically because it's like, we know what we're getting,
Right. Yeah.
And that's, hey man, at this part of the first round, you're just trying to hit doubles. Like, just hit a double in the gap, you're good to go.
Okay. You know what? Let's try to swing for a home run here. Steelers are on the board. Steelers are on the board, and we do some unconventional shit, and I love it. Khan, I stood like 2 inches away from him there in Mobile, didn't even recognize it until after he walked away, and I'm like, Interesting. Just like I probably wouldn't see this pick coming from a mile away, but I still think it's a Steelers move. I have Brian Thomas Jr. and A.D. Mitchell on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually gone A.D. Mitchell to the Steelers a couple times. Because, I mean, to be fair, who's our wide receiver 2 that's legitimately reliable? I think
Why
A.D.
not one
Mitchell,
George Pickens when you can have 2?
that I have him as, I have A.D. Mitchell literally comped as George Pickens with a Terrace Marshall mentality, because there's certain reps where I thought he could have put a lot more juice into his reps. So fingers crossed it's just George Pickens. But Brian Thomas actually complements a George Pickens really well. And I've never had him here for the Steelers. So why not take somebody who I think could be a compliment as a number 2? Because I think George really can develop into that number 1. And that brings a lot of juice to the table.
I like it. Especially if Russ still has his moon ball.
Oh, yeah.
BTJ is going to be great with that, right?
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Now, Dolphins on the clock at 21. This is tough, right? Because the roster is getting expensive quickly. They're running into money problems quickly. And they lost some guys because of it,
Michael Penix.
I know it's going around. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
That'd be wild. Is Michael Penix is a lefty too, right?
He is a lefty too. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that still translates.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 1-to-1 translation.
Man, I'm trying to think, like, interior offensive line. Is this a JPJ destination?
Apparently, he grew up as a Dolphins fan. That's what I've heard. That'd be pretty cool.
Is this potentially a Johnny Newton destination?
Do you think Johnny Newton's better than Byron Murphy?
I think for what the Dolphins need, which is just an absolute ass kicker.
Yeah, a menace.
Somebody who can get off blocks, destroy the run game, obviously contribute as a pass rusher as well.
Right.
But he'd be a dominant 3-down player for them at either 3-tech, 4-eye, 5-tech. Pretty much, I mean, she played 2-eye. Like, he's just so freaking strong. He's stronger than Byron. Yeah, I think I'm going to go Jerzon Newton there.
Some Johnny Newton love. Apparently, someone said he actually brought it up on Twitter. People are saying he's hard to coach, which I never got that from him. It looks like he's taking lessons pretty damn well. he's kind of kicking some ass. Yeah, he posted about it. He's like, I don't know who told people that was tough to coach. He tweeted that out. I'm like,
who said that?
I don't know, but I realized he wasn't in a bunch of first-round mock drafts. And I'm like, why? Because his talent, the play on the field, is awesome. Like, genuinely awesome. It's hard to get that clean of wins that quickly.
Yeah, if that's him being hard to coach, I'd love to see what happens when he's coachable.
I mean, that'd be crazy. At pick 22 for the Broncos, we've traded back twice. We've amassed some good draft capital. Now, do you want to go on your soliloquy of Cooper DeJean? Granted, we don't have a second round pick. We literally have 2/3 and then 3-4. We have 5 fourths. we have a lot of 4th round picks. Technically still in striking range of moving up for Michael Penix, but do you think at 22, is it worth to just say, screw it, we are absolutely bereft of talent, I could probably try to find someone later, or is it still time to go on the pedestal for Cooper?
At 22, it's starting to get palatable.
Right.
For Penix, and the reason why is because of the 5th year of contract control.
Yeah.
Like, that's how second-round quarterbacks get drafted in the first round. So it's like, if we don't do it here, we're just going to trade back up to 32 anyway, right?
Yeah, that's
very
expensive.
So you might as well just do it now. We already collected some extra picks. Again, I'm not saying he's a first-round grade for me. He's not, but he's a quarterback, and this is a team who's staring down the barrel of having Jarrett Stidham and Ben DiNucci as the quarterback room.
Oh.
You have an opportunity to get a guy with 6 years of contract control, essentially.
Yeah.
You're gonna control him until he's 30. We already got some extra draft assets.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying it's like ideal.
No.
But when you pass on Bo Nix and then he goes to a division rival, and again, I have a higher grade on Nix than I do on Penix. If you're passing on him and he goes to division rival, you got to do something, right?
Right.
So,
would you prefer Michael Penix and a 3rd round pick and 2/4, or would you prefer Bo Nix if you're the Broncos?
I'd probably prefer Bo.
Okay.
Again,
so I messed up.
We're talking about
I'm the one who
a
screwed
guy
up.
who I have a 2nd round grade on versus a guy who I have a late 1st round grade on.
Right.
But we're playing the odds of who do we think is going to be successful in the NFL. When in a quarterback, if you draft a quarterback and they're successful in the NFL, it's worth more than you're getting on a 3rd and 4th round pick, right? So I think Bo is a safer bet. I'm not saying I'm low on Penix. Again, I have a 2nd round grade on the guy. Like, there's a lot to like, but I'm just playing the odds of who I think is going to be successful.
For clarification,
for quarterback, you got to play those odds. So I still prefer Bo, but in this given scenario, all we can do is take Penix plus the extra picks and hope.
So I have Bo at 26th on my board, and I have Penix at 58th. So I have a very similar grade system to you. So I do agree. I also am just more of the mindset that I don't think the Broncos are ready to compete. So I was like, also not knowing that you liked Bo Nix to the degree where you would take him that early. So I was in the right mindset, and it did not end up working out. So at least we got to
17.
Yep. At least we got to get some extra draft capital for it. But at pick 23, you are back on the board.
So looking at this Arizona roster, this is the 2nd pick we got from Minnesota, I think, right?
Yeah. This is the Vikings pick.
Man.
As you do this, I'm like, turn off all forms of notifications forever on this computer. Thank you.
We already got our left tackle.
Yep. Got our left tackle. And you could get your George Pickens.
I was going to say, Adonai Mitchell kind of makes the most sense here for what they have and what role he would play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's go AD Mitchell.
Let's do it. So I'm curious, where do you have AD Mitchell ranked compared to the other wide receivers at the moment? Have you released a receiver?
Same tier as Brian Thomas Jr., but if I had to choose in a vacuum, I'd go AD.
Okay. I have AD above BTJ as well. I'm a big AD guy. He is in my top 10 overall. That's how much I love him.
He's awesome.
He's great. Actually, I lied. He's at number 11. But anyways, pick 24, Dallas Cowboys. We've tested the waters of a massive move up, decided against it. Now, I'm curious what you think about this, because I've gotten eaten alive by Cowboys fans. This is not a pick that I particularly enjoy. But one, I don't usually have Byron Murphy here. But the question I was going to ask you is, I think their wide receiver 2 needs a little bit of a boost, regardless of whether it's here or later. And Keon Coleman is the cousin of CeeDee Lamb. Do you think he is?
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. I was like, what the hell? So do you think that familial connection might have Jerry get a little too antsy in the pantsy and go Keon Coleman early?
That's the first I've heard about that. That's insane.
How
did I not know about that?
Yeah, I didn't know about it. Someone brought it up to me. I'm like, hey, yo. I was like, what? And I looked it up. I'm like, oh, crap. Okay. So,
I mean, I could see it. I could definitely see it. But I am very worried about that offensive line.
Oh, you and I both. I'm talking about Jerry here. I'm talking about Jerry, not Logic. Theoretically.
But at the same time, Will McClay and Stephen Jones have been very good drafters for Dallas and very good at basically just taking the phone out of Jerry's hand and doing the sensible thing. Yeah. So I kind of feel like Jerry has trust in them to guide the ship, and they're very good at guiding the ship.
Okay.
So I kind of feel, man, I like Brock Hoffman, but do I want to do JPJ? Who's available at tackle?
So Barton, Guyton, Morgan. See, have you studied Morgan yet?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out if he's a tackle or a guard.
So here's the thing. I have this weird gut feeling that he could be, I think he'd be a Pro Bowl guard. I don't know why. I did not like him for the majority of this draft cycle, mainly because I was thinking of him as a tackle. But I really love him as a guard. Really do.
Where I struggle is I know Tyler Smith can play tackle. He absolutely can play tackle. But he's literally already an all-pro guard.
Right.
So it's like you bird in hand, two in the bush. Like you already have an all-pro guard.
Yeah.
Should you just take a tackle? So it's like, I don't know. It's tough. Like maybe if you're a Sumatai guy or a Tyler Guyton guy or even Graham Barton, which I know some people see him being inside as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the reason why I was considering the trade up for Fa'atanu, because I'm like, because I know Fa'atanu could be a tackle, and then we could just leave Tyler Smith at guard and just be a top 4 guard in the NFL.
Yeah,
why screw up a good thing?
So here would be my argument for Graham. Here'd be my argument for Jordan. Essentially, for Graham, since he was recruited to Duke as a center, you already know that he could even kick into center if need be. Yeah. So at least you actually have somebody who could be a bona fide, legitimate center, literally got recruited for it. With Jordan, you're going to be doing a very similar mode as what happened when you brought on Tyler Smith. Granted, I think Tyler Smith was moved to guard because he was a power freak that was just super duper raw and could transition to guard very, very well. I think that Jordan Morgan is not someone who I'd trust at tackle. I think he's moving to guard solely because I don't trust him to be an every down tackle, not because he just needs a little bit more polish.
If you're big on him at guard, then I would just pull the trigger on that, and then you figure it out in camp.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I like it. I think didn't they draft Tyler Smith at 24?
I think so.
It might have been. They're always in that range.
Yeah.
Yeah, they ain't going to the NFC Championship. All right, you're on the board with Green Bay. Good players. Coop.
I know. DeJean's like the obvious one, right?
Yeah. It's like people bring up Graham Barton as well because he's the definition of what the Packers like in offensive line. Have you looked at Jalen Sundell yet? The North Dakota kid? Yeah. He popped up to me very recently, and I just randomly threw him into my 7-round mock draft that I dropped today. But when I really started looking at him more, he actually played center reps at the Shrine Bowl, and he's pretty damn good. He just I feel like that's what the Packers would do, is getting your value version of Graham Barton down the board.
But yeah, they always mine for guys in day 3, and they end up being great.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go DeJean. It just makes so much sense.
You got to go Coop. There's no missing on Coop. Yeah. So for the Buccaneers, I think this one's a quick run to the podium. It's going to be a lot too. I think edge rusher still needs to be upgraded on this team, and high value position, great value player. As long as the medicals check out, going to be very hard to say no.
Yeah.
Might as well get through the easy picks, right?
And then let's see, Arizona
again.
Could do Byron Murphy.
That would be nice.
Because then you're ending up with all AD Mitchell and Byron Murphy in the same first round.
The 2 Texas kids. They're not from Texas. Well, I don't know if Byron's from Texas.
Anyway. So right now they got on their interior, they got Bilal Nichols, Kears Tonga, and Justin Jones. Dante Stills, all these more of a 5 tech to me. LJ Collier. Yeah, let's go Byron Murphy.
Let's do it.
If anything, it gives them just a little bit extra juice in terms of interior pass rush.
I like it. Okay, well, that honestly took one of my favorite players for the Bills because I just love interior pass rush for the Bills. No longer the option, but I think you brought this up in a tweet. I like Keon Coleman on this team. Did you bring it up in a tweet? I know somebody was talking about Keon Coleman as a good fit to Buffalo.
Yeah, I was bringing up Keon Coleman in the sense that everybody talks about Keon to the Bills making sense, which it
Okay.
does. But for me, what makes even more sense is Javon Baker to the Bills.
Oh, so that was the tweet. Okay, because I remember seeing it, and I'm just trying to comprehend it. Um, dude, Javon Baker, man. I mean, I need your PFF Ultimate subscription. Thank you. Because I mean, the sources that I use are not fans of UCF. Let's just put it that way. And I've been dying to see some Javon Baker, but
He's really good. He's
I
really good.
know the normal tape looks so good, and I don't make my opinions official on players that are DBs or wide receivers until I see them, or quarterbacks until I see them in all 22.
Yeah.
Regardless, I think that I honestly might be in a position where it's almost too. I love Kool-Aid McKinstry a little too much, and he's super flexible in terms of his role. He's easily able to be a corner if you need him to, and then if you need him to play safety, I mean, why the hell not? He's a freaking badass. But I think he's a true corner, and I think he can play high-level corner. What do you think about this pick? Because this is literally my probably least favorite pick the entire draft to do.
Can I also interest you in Xavier Legette?
It's what I did in my 7-round mock draft. I like it. Let's do that. Xavier Legette. The best accent.
I mean, I'm sniping myself because I was going to take him at 29, but
I love that. Thank you for that. I mean, I literally did it myself today, so I should probably have thought about that before. But I mean, talk about an amazing accent, right? Like, I want to sit down and have a beer with this guy and just hear a podcast of him talking for like 10 hours straight. It's incredible.
See, this makes it tough for the Lions at 29.
Sorry.
Xavier was going to be the guy.
The guy. So I'm curious, what's your reasoning on that? Because a lot of my mock drafts, he is probably roughly available at pick 29.
I just think they need an X. Like I think you got Amon on the slot. I think Jameson Williams is more of a Z.
Right.
I just think they need a true X, and I think Xavier would be that.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of X's in this range, and he's like the only one that's left.
So you don't think that Keon could be an X, or you don't think he has a separation ability?
I like Keon as a big slot.
Okay. I respect that.
I got an episode coming out with Matt Hardman pretty soon here that kind of expands on why. But
okay,
I like Keon as a big slot who can play outside, but like he'll do his best work inside.
Yeah, I mean, not a good fit. Okay.
So it's like, do I want to do Ladd? I don't think I want to do Ladd. A little early for Pearsall.
What do you think of JPJ? Do you think Holmes could resist?
He does love himself thick booty lineman.
That's not the term I was about to bring up, but yeah, I think I would agree.
But the fact that he could play guard or center, and then again, you just take him and you figure it out.
Yeah.
It would make a lot of sense. Kool-Aid would make a lot of sense. Mainly because, like, I know they got Emmanuel Mosley there as corner 3, and he's going to be competing with Amik Robertson to be their other outside guy, but I'm not sure I trust either of them at this point to play across from Carlton Davis.
It's true.
And I think when you have Carlton Davis on the team, the only thing better than having one guy who's going to beat the absolute shit out of a receiver on the line of scrimmage is having two guys that's going to do that. So Kool-Aid makes sense. Let's go with him.
Let's do it. That's some great reasoning. That's some all-time reasoning right there. I'm going to find a way to make that a short. I don't put any shorts up, but that is worth putting up as a freaking short, man. Oh, that's great. Pick number 30 for Baltimore. Keon Coleman. I have actually a thumbnail, or I have a jersey edit of him in a Baltimore Ravens uniform. I'm slightly tempted to force the pick just because I think that
just for the thumbnail.
Just for the thumbnail. But I think even though deep down I like forcing picks that, I mean, they make sense, but might not be the best choice as a Steelers fan. Sometimes I like to do a nice little dagger at the Baltimore Ravens. They do draft extremely well. And I think they draft BPA. And I think their right tackle situation is atrocious. I'm not a Daniel Failele guy. Are you a Daniel Failele guy?
Not enough to make me not take a tackle.
So the real question is Tyler Guyton or Kingsley Suamataia. And I think Kingsley was far superior as a right tackle. That's my opinion. I think that he just looked really uncomfortable as a left tackle compared to how I mean, he also lost 15 pounds of pure fat. You can look at it in his face. He was genuinely a recomped man. But he just, to me, felt so much more comfortable and so much better as a right tackle. I think he could work at this spot. But I actually do trust Tyler Guyton. Now, on the move, this guy, low-key, does not process very well. He seems like he gets put in a blender a couple times in terms of not understanding what the hell or where the hell to go, who the hell to block. That might be worth it. What are your thoughts on the two right tackles here?
If you trust your offensive line coach to develop Tyler Guyton, you're getting a Pro Bowl caliber talent.
Yes.
He's an absolute freak show.
Yes.
Okay. If you need a guy who's going to play right now, and you have trust in him playing right now, it's Kingsley Suamataia. So really for you, it just which thing are you prioritizing?
I think they play the long game. I think they do. Signing longer term contracts with star players. I think there's a little too much uncertainty on the roster, if I'm going to be blunt. I'm going to go Tyler Guyton because I also have him higher on my board too. So I think you go best player available.
Fair.
And trust the process. I'm going to trust Ronnie Stanley, if he's hurt or healthy, to be a good mentor to Tyler Guyton.
That brings us to 31.
Some good players here too.
Let's see. Do I want...
I'm curious. Of the day 2 corners, while you think about what pick here, I'm not obviously insinuating that you should go day 2 corner. Have you studied the cornerback class fully yet, or are you still going through them?
About 15 deep.
Okay. Have you watched Andrew Phillips?
I've seen one game. He's freaky.
I love him. He's number 9 on my board. I'm a psychopath.
He's freaky.
I'm a psycho. I'm a psycho. I get it. But I have him number 9 on my board. I have him comped to Jair Alexander. He can't tackle necessarily.
There's a PBU in the Louisville game where I swear to God he looked exactly like Jair.
Oh my God, dude. Okay, thank you for at least in your limited tape study, at least affirming that I'm not a complete psycho. I'm still a psycho. But
I see the talent for sure. I see the talent.
I don't know why. I fell in love with him. He was just awesome. Actually, I've never seen someone cover Ladd McConkey as smoothly as Andrew Phillips. That's what got me.
It helps to be a gnarly athlete.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Anyways, back to the mock draft.
Corner is an option for the Niners, by the way.
I agree.
I'm thinking about Kamari Lassiter.
Ooh, even after the 4.65.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't play 4.65. That's the thing.
Agreed.
Which makes me think there might be a health thing I don't know about.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay.
Linebacker is also a potential because, again, I don't know if Greenlaw's playing this year.
That's true. Didn't he go to Neil Alatrosh, though? I mean, hell, that guy gets people back in a heartbeat.
He did, but
yeah.
Let me check his contract. I want to see how many years he has left.
Yeah, because that would be interesting. And Orton Burks isn't even there. Of course, granted, it's not going to be a different.
Here's the thing: Greenlaw's going into the last year of his deal, and he's coming off an Achilles.
Oh,
and he's going to be 28 next year. So
that's a dark horse pick.
But so then the question is, okay, is it Edgerrin Cooper? Is it Peyton Wilson?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the Michigan kid?
Yeah, Junior. Junior's a good kid.
Junior Colson, who I like a lot.
I know. He's really good.
So I will say Edgerrin Cooper, his idol is Fred Warner.
It's a good idol to have. The best linebacker in the game.
Super talented. Good kid. Coachable kid.
Pass rush
Just
ability.
because I don't know if Greenlaw is even going to play this year or even be ready until like December.
Yeah.
Let's go Edgerrin Cooper.
I like that. I've always tried to find reasons to take these guys higher. I don't think him or Colson get past pick 38 with the Titans because the Titans linebacking core.
I like Colson better than Wilson personally.
I do too. I actually like Colson technically better than Cooper, but I think they're completely different styles of player. I don't.
Way different.
You're not they're not the same conversation.
Yeah.
So I totally agree right there. That's super cool. But I think that I don't think Colson gets past pick 37 with the Chargers. I mean, it's so much familiarity with a legitimate need.
Match made in heaven.
It is. So, anywho, pick number 32 for the Chiefs. We got a lot of really good picks here. Honestly, do you think that they'd be a team that could go after Nate Wiggins on day one? I mean, they're not.
I think they trust themselves with day 2 and day 3 DBs. I see them more as like a Kyrie Jackson destination.
Ooh.
On day 2.
Okay.
Renardo Green.
Oh, I love Renardo
Green. Like those kind of guys. Like I see Spags being like, I can work with that.
Okay.
Right? And on day 1, even not even considering the Rashee Rice thing. On day 1, I still think they're in play for a receiver. Well, I still think they are.
If Raw is gone, which obviously I'd hate to have, obviously friend of the show, friend of mine, that obviously sucks, but Keon could be that big slot if they have to move on. If they weren't going to go that, do you think that they'd go after Ladd, or would there be an alternate route that you'd suggest for Kansas City? Javon Baker. That'd be wild.
I think Keon makes sense for them.
Would you say that's BPA, like for the Chiefs specifically and what they need?
If he's not BPA, he's pretty darn close.
I respect that.
Close enough, right? Because and again, the reason why I say not even counting the Rashee thing, they were still in play for receiver, was because Rashee plays a very specific role for them.
Yes.
Different than what Keon does.
That's true. Yeah, you got the rack guy versus, or the yak guy versus the big guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is going to be it. That was I love a lot of the curveballs we threw in there. That was actually a really fun one. So, Brett, thank you so much for coming on. Feel free to say goodbye to the people.
Yeah, I got a lot coming out over the next month. Obviously over on our podcast channel, the Bootleg Football Podcast. We just had JT O'Sullivan on for like an hour and a half, breaking down all the quarterbacks. We got Matt Harmon coming on for receivers. We got Daniel Jeremiah coming on next week. Mina Kimes coming on right after that. So it's a whole loaded slate over the next month or so talking draft.
Say hi to them for me. Oh my God, that's awesome. Well, yeah, I'll obviously link you down below. I mean, if people aren't already subscribed to you who are subscribed to me, I don't know what they're doing, but maybe we could funnel some more people over there. Thank you again for coming on. And for all of y'all who are watching, thank you so much. We love y'all. See you on the far side. Peace.